Welcome to the Patient Magnet Podcast. My name is Jared Rohr. I'm the CEO and founder of Aesthetic Conversion, a web and SEO agency. And today I'm joined by my longtime friend. We finally get to do something together on a podcast, Terri Ross. Terri knew me when I was just a baby working for Shino, and she believed in me all the way back then. And so it's really cool to be on this side of the table, to be able to pick your brain, ask you all the questions. Terri, obviously your name precedes you, but for anybody who doesn't know you yet, do you want to give everybody a little elevator pitch of who Terri Ross is and the force of nature that she is?
Oh, I love you, Jared. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I see you. We're like bumping and grinding out there. I'm so proud of you and all of your success that you have had over the years. Truly, you're an inspiration to me and so many. So thank you for having me on this podcast and just diving deep for some real bullshit talk, because we both see it, but different angles. So, and thank you for the warm intro. For those of you that don't know me, just a Lord, I'm going to age myself. A 20-year veteran in aesthetics, and previous to that, 16 years in Fortune 500. Leading sales teams and working with multi-million-dollar practices. And really, what our firm does, Terri Ross Consulting, is we help practices in aesthetics and wellness, integrative medicine, be efficient and make money. That's what we do. So I'm loving this opportunity to dive in right now as we end 2025, because people that pay attention. So
that's very good. People that pay attention.
right.
Yeah, and my summary of Terri Ross is that she's the goddess of aesthetics. She knows everybody. She pulls a lot of the strings behind the scenes of what's going on. Like Terri is a major influencer across the board, and she has helped generate millions, if not billions, of dollars worth of revenue for clinics around the world. And so I'm just excited to get to chat with you. So today, like you guys know, we've talked about kind of your digital sales funnel, and Terri, even for context on the Patient Magnet, a lot of what we've been talking about has been marketing. And we talk about kind of the key performance indicators of how people should know what's working and what's not working for their business. And so for this episode, we're going to take a big macro step back to the entire business, and we're going to get to pick the brain of an absolute sage in this business, and talk about kind of what those key performance indicators are of whether or not a clinic is successful. And what I'd love to do with you, Terri, is I would love to just go from kind of like the first handshake of the clinic with the patient all the way through retention. What key performance indicators you look for, and which ones actually matter, because you know this. I mean, I am not going to call out the person who did this, but I was at a show last year, and I was on, and they were talking about KPIs in their lecture. And they listed at least 90 KPIs that they said, oh, you got to be tracking all this stuff in your business. And here's all your KPIs for this, and KPIs for marketing, KPIs for sales, KPIs for practice management. And I was like, nobody in their right mind is these are not all actionable KPIs. Yeah. There's probably 4 or 5 per business category, in my opinion. I think for marketing, there's like 3 that if you focus on getting eyeballs on your business, you focus on getting a high conversion rate from eyeballs to lead, and then focus on getting a good sales rate from lead to appointment, you're going to be doing a great job if you track those 3 numbers. And I think there's dozens of other numbers you could track, but they all focus on, did you get the attention? Did the attention turn into a lead? And did the lead turn into a sale? So I'd love to hear your perspective from, maybe let's start on the marketing side. When you're evaluating a business. And by the way, everybody, KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. These are the numbers that matter for your business. These are the things that make the business turn over. Your KPI is, if this number does well, then your business does well. And so in this podcast, hopefully we're going to give you a handful of KPIs that you can start tracking tomorrow. And if you are measuring up with some of the benchmarks maybe that we'll talk about today, then hopefully you can really kick it into high gear during 2026. So Terri, when you're evaluating a business, or when you're doing any kind of consultative measure, when you're looking, maybe let's start with marketing, then we'll go into sales, then practice management. With marketing, what are some of the things that matter to you when you're looking at KPIs for a clinic?
So I want to thank you. Love, this is such a hot topic. I want to back up though and answer one question, because you said it. People can talk about KPIs till the fucking cows come home, right? They can rattle off numbers and put them out there, and to your point, show 90 or show whatever. And I really do want to preface that that's great if people know, even the ones that even understand, but most people are intimidated or they're overwhelmed or don't know what they even mean. Okay, that's
Yeah.
I want to preface that. So
Yep.
talking about these things, if you're someone listening and you're like, I have no idea, I want you to embrace what we're going to talk about, but I want you to then say, okay, well then how do I do it? And so
Yeah.
to your point, you listed some marketing ones, because what I hear often here, and you and I have had this conversation, I need more leads, I need more marketing, I need more people. And I'm like, well,
Right.
do you? Do you really? Maybe you do.
Right.
Everyone needs a percent of new, but what about the ones that you need to retain? And so
Mm.
it's whatever market you live in. Yes, conversions are matter, right? How are you going to attract the people coming into the practice? And
Yeah.
that's from an SEO optimization, right? All the strategies that you guys do, your PPC, your ads, your website. And then what is that patient conversion? You said it, inquiry to consult,
Mhm.
consult to close.
Yeah.
We look at two of those metrics. We look at cost of acquisition, lifetime value, and conversions. And I think to me, those are like the main marketing.
Okay, so let's talk about that first one then, because I think that's very interesting. So would you maybe make the argument that ultimately the primary KPI for your marketing effort is volume of leads? How many leads did you get?
How many leads?
Like,
Yeah,
is
sure. Yep.
right? Volume of leads. I think there's maybe something to be said about the amount of attention that you got, like the views to your website or the total impressions to social media. But if it doesn't turn into leads, then
Right.
who cares?
And
Then who cares?
don't you agree? Everybody's hung up on the likes and the shares and the this and the that. And everybody's in my Instagram and DMing me, how much do you charge for Botox? And I'm like, come on. Like, then they're bitching that their marketing didn't work because it didn't convert.
Right.
You got bigger issues. Like, what is the quality of those leads?
Yeah. And are there leads? Like, so
Well, yeah,
that's so maybe that's a great let's park here for a second, because for social media specifically, this is a
yeah,
big hot button for me,
okay.
is that there's tons of people that manage social across the industry. I'm a huge fan of Mary Robb at Social Practice, because they measure a lot of their success in leads produced. They're giving reports every month of here's how many people made inquiries to work with your business this month, every single month, because they know that that's the only thing that keeps the client paying them,
Yeah,
is that did I get them
yeah.
leads to their business. And I would say if anybody is, if so, let's start with most people's marketing efforts usually consist of just social in the beginning. A lot of them are just on social media. So if you are primarily just doing social media for your marketing, the one metric that you need to track, in my opinion, and maybe Terri, you would agree, is how many leads are you producing a month? And if you're not producing leads, pivot your strategy to make that happen. So then you can look at the other fulcrums. Okay, great. How many likes did I get? And how many people actually inquired, or how strong was my call to action? There's tons of things that could go into producing that result. But the primary result is, did it produce leads to my business? Did it produce people that are interested in coming to my business? In your experience, Terri, when people say, "Oh, I have bad quality leads," what percentage of people are actually getting bad quality leads versus they have no idea how to have good follow up with their leads?
I mean, that's such a loaded question. We, it, um, I mean, it's loaded from my perspective because we're not digging into looking at, we look at the number of leads coming in, and then
Yeah.
we'll look at conversions.
Mm,
And then I'll have to back into the software to look at like notes or a CRM. I think
yeah.
I think a lot of people are price shoppers because they're not willing to either spend the money in the right strategy,
Yeah.
or they candidly do not understand what treatments are profitable. So they're marketing to like spaghetti on the wall. They're marketing
Mm,
to a global audience and getting shit,
mm,
getting the price shoppers, and then they have no skill, right? Then they're
right.
answering questions. How much does this cost?
Yeah.
Then they just answer. They don't have a process that's formalized, and they don't
Mm,
have any training. So I'm going to
yeah.
say, I would say over 60%, I think,
Yeah,
have,
it's about where I am too.
yeah,
Most people, I think that complain about lead quality usually there. Sometimes it is like if you're running ads, if you're running meta ads and Google ads, there's a great chance you have bad leads.
yeah,
If it's organic, then there's a really good chance that you just don't have an effective follow-up process or don't have a good script or you're doing exactly what you're saying. You're just playing defense. You're just
yeah,
answering questions when somebody asks
yeah.
you, how much does this cost? How much does Botox cost? And it's like, well, why do you, tell me more about why you want Botox. They're like, oh, well, I want my lips to be more full. And it's like, then what are we doing here?
Right,
The
right,
patient doesn't
right.
know half the time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Agree, agree.
So, so starting on the marketing side, the primary KPI that you guys can be tracking per Jared Rohr and Terri Ross in this podcast is leads. If you're tracking leads in, you should be seeing production. Is there any kind of on your guys' side? Is there any kind of benchmarks
Yeah.
for lead production that you look for?
No, because I think that varies based on, right? That varies based on spend. What are you marketing for? What is, right?
Yeah.
Where, the demographic, the geography, the distance.
Mm-hmm.
But the conversions need to be 70%. That's what people really need to know.
Right.
The rest, fine, give me 3,000 leads. I don't, great. But if you're
Yeah.
not converting 70% of them, you have to say, what's the problem? What percent is not quality? What percent is a training issue? And it's usually a bit of both. And the majority is a training issue.
That's huge. So 70% is, and you would say that's minimum or that's like optimal?
Minimum. That's minimum.
What's like you're cruising, you're crushing 80, 90? Not 90.
80,
Can't be.
90. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. Line released a stat, sometime last year where they were like, oh, web inquiries of success. Now theirs was benchmarks of just successful clinics. It was not, in your case, you guys are coaching people to become effective and to get the 70%. They, on average, clinics that are, whether or not they're intentional or unintentional, if they're getting 55 to 60%, line was like, they are in the top percentile. And you would say that even if they're 55 to 60%, they could be getting 70. Consider the revenue increase, guys, just on increasing your conversion.
Yeah, I know. Don't even get me started because I will go off a rabbit hole of people investing in their business. Just that you're investing money. That's part of it. But people that wants a different outcome invest in anything. They're investing in colleges. You're a musician. They invest in learning how to play an instrument. They invest in their kids becoming an athlete. They invest in whatever it is. You have a business. You better invest. If you don't know how to do it and your team doesn't know how to do it, the greatest return you'll ever get is to figure out what these benchmarks are and how your team can be supported and trained, right? You can be the best provider. I say it all the time. I use the analogy, and I'm going to see you at my conference in a few days. But, when people work with us, I'm like, I'm not here to teach you how to play the game. You know how to play the game. I'm teaching you how to win the game. They're very, very, very different tactics with that. So, yeah, look, it's just math. It's money and math and training.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So, first KPI is lead production. Second KPI is conversion rate of those leads from lead to consult. And whether you are a giant, enormous clinic or an itty bitty little baby clinic, you should be converting 70% of your leads or you have a problem.
100%. Yeah.
I love that. In general, what we say as far as benchmarks go for lead production, we like to see, now for us, we're a web agency.
Yeah.
So we generally like to see 500 views to a client's site per room that they've got per treatment room.
Wow.
And generally that turns into somewhere around the ballpark of 50 to 60 leads a month. Per room. I like seeing that, but I'm not a consultant, so I don't see those leads all the way through. Now, so maybe that's a benchmark you guys could borrow from me. I'm not working with a massive pool here of study, but I would say generally if a client of ours is getting 500 views a month per room, generally they're pretty good to their site. When they're tracking that conversion rate, Terri, are you advising everybody use a CRM or just get a good old fashioned Excel sheet of amount of leads versus amount of appointments?
I'm a huge proponent that your systems and your tech stack needs to be solid. But what I often see is then the tech stack is like this big and they don't know how to use any of it. So
Mm-mm.
it what we see is just it's very sad a lot of the time. It's just really sad because they're out there at these conferences being told stuff, hearing from people on stage that probably have no business speaking on stage, getting sold a bunch of bullshit because it's a conference and it's a deal and it's a
Yep.
sale. And then they're confused about what a CRM is, and then my software, and then my phone call tracking thing. And then it just get your shit tight. Like, understand garbage in, garbage out. Like, and yes, marketing is important, but we teach service categories. And I'll talk, there are
Yeah.
a list of service categories for a reason. So
Hmm.
I'd even back into it and say, you have to understand what is the value proposition of your business. Like, who are you? What do you want to be? What do you solve? Who's your client? Who's your avatar? What treatments make you the most money? Half of the time, people are not profitable because they're marketing shit that doesn't make them money.
Right.
Who cares even if I did convert it? Now you're converting it and the girl's coming in for one syringe of a filler. You're not going to make any money. It's a transactional sale. So if you want to have a business that's sustainable, let's go back into your numbers. Let's back into your business model, back into profitability of your treatments. If the gross profit isn't over a certain percent, it's a pricing issue. Like, there are a million things that have to be fixed and changed or audited before I can just be talking about marketing and conversion.
Yeah, 100%. And making sure that the business is actually functioning, because what, you're going to throw a lot of leads and a lot of new appointments into a system that's already broken,
Right.
and then all you're doing is throwing more complexity towards something that's already not working. I was on a call today with a client, and he's a plastic surgeon. And he's like, I hear, like, I've got colleagues, there's a guy in New York who sells, and I knew the second he said New York, I was like, it's going to be Andrew Jacono, I know it. And he was like, he sells a facelift for $300,000, and then there's another guy that sells a facelift for 150, and another guy who sells it for 150 in San Diego or whatever. And he goes, how can I do that? I was like, easy, it's really easy. He goes, how? I was like, you change your price, and that's it. you just, all you have to do is just change your price. And he's like, but will people buy it? And I was like, and this guy's got tenure. He's got an amazing portfolio. He does an incredible job.
Yeah.
He certainly could bill the same as any of them. And he's like, but then how do I sell it? And I was like, I promise you, the very first person whose jaw drops to the floor at the price, whether they buy or not, they're going to tell every person they've ever met what you just decided to start charging, and eventually you're going to become mythical, and everybody's going to be like, that's the guy that you go to for the $150,000 facelift. It's just billing, and oftentimes people put themselves into the patient's wallet, and they say, oh well, I can't bill that for my injectables. I've got to bill, and they're just afraid because they're putting their own bank account in the patient's wallet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, you know what, here's what I charge, and if you're that person,
Right.
then we're going to work great together. If not, then I'll find
Not a good fit.
somebody else. Yeah. Okay, so first KPI, we're talking about lead production. That's the very first one. Second one is lead conversion, so conversion rate into an appointment. Once I obviously you could track show rate of those. Maybe you want to track show rate. We'll call that in my opinion, maybe a sub KPI. Like, it's good to know if you're finding that no one's showing up to these appointments you're booking. Like, yes. However, once the appointment happens, or when they get their butt into the patient seat, what's the next thing that you're hoping, that you're wanting to know? Is it average ticket? Is it rebooking rate? Is it upsells? Is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a couple things. So one, I would look at, yes, the average patient spend, average patient spend, whatever, what you just said, average treatment, average patient spend is one. And the only way they're going to, revenue per hour is two.
Oh yeah. Per provider, per room?
Per both. Okay. So average patient spend, revenue per hour, per provider, and per room.
Yeah.
Conversions, again, from the consult to treatment. Okay. They're different, right? Inquiry to consult's one. Consult to close is another. So average patient spend, revenue per hour, per treatment, per room. Conversions. Then would come retention, like later. Right? Am I coming
rebooking
back?
rate?
So I would say three for that particular three. Those are
At
the
the appointment, we should be tracking average spend once their butt is in that seat. We should be
right.
tracking conversion rate of what do you think the conversion rate of a sale should be of a consult? What,
I mean,
95%?
it wouldn't look it's 70s minimum. If you're solid and you're trained,
Yeah,
it's going to be in that 80 to 95 range.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And obviously you advocate all the time for free consults, right?
Don't even get me started,
No,
right?
she does not. No, she
And
does not.
everybody effing knows. I was like, no one values free shit. I mean, no
Hmm.
one values free stuff. You just talked about, look at, well, I'm in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
They're same. There are doctors charging 250, 350 for a facelift, and then down the street's 20, and then across the street's 150. It's some bullshit. You're gonna, right? Be the person you want to attract. If you've never heard me talk about this book, you have to do it. Someone has to be the most expensive. Why not make it you? I promise
yeah.
you, it will literally change your mindset and philosophy about price.
Done.
First,
I'm buying it.
first class is always full. Why?
Mm,
Why? I mean, you want a cocktail, you want to lay down, you want to sleep. Whether you can afford it or not is a different story. It's attracting a person who wants it. So I always tell people think about brands. I don't care if you want to be a Target, a Macy's, a Neiman's, a Nordstrom, right? Or a hotel chain. Pick your lane. It doesn't matter to me, but
yeah.
stay in the lane when it comes to that.
Mm. I love that. I love that. Yeah. So bill for consults. What, $100 for a consultation? Does it matter? Do you care?
If we're talking med spas,
Yeah.
um, we've tested it 50, 75, 100, applied, not applied. 50 to 75 is the sweet spot.
Okay.
And look, listen, if you can get 100, get it, get whatever you can get. And I'm all for it. And if it's going to
Hmm.
be applied, that's somebody just respecting your time.
Correct. Yeah, if it's applied towards the service,
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's somebody who's serious. And
Yeah.
if it's somebody who's like, oh, well, actually, no, I just wanted you to tell me, I wanted you to tell me what you would charge instead of the guy up the street. And it's like, okay, great. Why don't you just go to the guy up the street? Sounds like you guys have
Exactly.
a
Right.
beautiful relationship. Sounds like you and this guy really would
Right.
get along.
You're right, for sure.
Okay, so we're looking at 70, 80% for that conversion rate once they're in the chair. And then revenue per hour, is there any benchmarks there
I know.
of what a clinic? I mean, obviously there's a big variance of like lasers versus having injectables and disposables,
But
but
there are
is there anything that you hope they can get?
no. This isn't even fucking hope. This is like legitimate. And if you are not hitting these numbers, you got issue like you have big problems. Okay.
Okay.
Surgeons, and these are statistical. I've been doing this
Yeah.
for 20 years. This is our Terri Ross Consulting data. This is QSight that I'm a partner with in New York that literally, right, partners with a big pharma, Allergan, Merz, right, all the companies from a point of sale system. So we all track
Yeah.
the surgeons need to be well over 3,000 an hour. If you're a doctor in a med spa, 1,400 plus, 14 to 1,600 an hour plus. You're an NP or a PA, probably around 12 to 1,400 or more. If you're an RN, and look, in different states, people can do different things. If you're an RN, 600 to 1,000. An esthetician doing medical procedures, 500 or more. And
Oh.
estheticians, if they can do medical, like, microneedling and certain things.
Hmm.
And then an SD doing just facials and hydrofacials and peels at 250 to 350. So
Wow.
people, and that's the thing, people just, they don't know those numbers. So they're out
Right.
there, busybody. And look, we have a very high percent of key opinion leaders and very successful practices that still retain us. I mean, I think I launched a podcast 2 weeks ago. We prep practices to sell. So, right, even the ones that are doing very well with high profits still want more, right? So I think once we stop learning and growing,
Yeah.
kind of plateaued in the space.
Do you advocate for people to change, and this is less of a KPI thing, but do you advocate for people to change their pricing based on their credentialing? Like when you're talking about, RNs all the way up to MDs and DOs, essentially a lot of them are offering the same services. But I've seen that too, where there's different averages.
Yeah.
Do you advocate for that, or is that just kind of what ends up happening?
Well, no, I mean, certainly, look, it's a doctor, right,
Yeah.
doing this procedure or treatment or lasers or inject, doesn't matter what it is, all the time, an MD versus an RN doing it, it should 100% it should be different. But what
Hmm.
I'm saying is what the room should generate in an hour, there are minimums, which means if you're not hitting the minimums, you're just transactional in your business.
Hmm.
And that can't happen. So we need to be that room making, at least $1 million. So
Yeah.
there's just so many things to back into, but it's not optional. And candidly,
Yeah.
people just don't know what those are. So they're never
Yeah.
striving for, yeah.
I was I was doing a sales consult with this esthetician last week, and she was talking to me about her business. She's doing a great job, and she goes, oh yeah, and I just hired another esthetician to work with me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I was like, so you moved into a new space, or you already had the extra room? And she goes, no, we just share the one room. I was like, so you're not making a dime more yet, babe? And she was like, oh my God. I was like, you have to have two rooms. Like the rooms make you more money, not the people. And she was like, oh my God. And she had this like mind blowing moment realizing she was like, I thought just hiring another person was going to make me more money. I said, wrongo, mama. Now she's looking for a bigger
Other
space, which is
space.
great. Yeah. Okay. So maybe one last KPI here, retention rate. And maybe we could wrap that up at least in maybe we'll call it rebooking for now. What do you hope for rebooking for people?
65% at minimum.
65% of your appointments should be rebooking at checkout.
That is minimum. I mean, that is minimum. I mean, yes. And that's the difference between somebody doing a treatment plan, mastering the consult, right? Not giving me my couple units of Botox and one or two syringes or whatever the hell it is, versus, right, they know how to sell. They know how to
Mm.
educate. They're looking at a patient holistically. Um, and if you're doing that, then your retention should literally be like 80, 90%.
Yeah, of course. I mean, some of the clinics that are like all word of mouth that I'll talk to, they're like, I've never done marketing. I'm all word of mouth. I mean, their retention rate is unbelievable because that's the only thing that's kept them in business.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
yeah. So, okay. So to summarize this whole entire journey that we just talked about, when you're talking about marketing, that first KPI is your leads. Okay. When you're talking about marketing slash sales, that next KPI is going to be your conversion rate of lead to appointment. Okay. That's going to, your front desk is typically going to be the person that you're holding accountable to that KPI. And that needs to be 70% minimum. Okay. And then once they get their butt into a patient seat, you need to be tracking the value of the room per hour, the value of the provider per hour, as well as your consult sales rate. So once the person talks, sits in your consultation and actually pays for the appointment, that should be somewhere in the ballpark, minimum 70.
Yeah.
But, if you have a good process, you're looking at 80%,
Yes.
90%. And then a minimum, again, of 65% of appointments should be rebooking at checkout. And there's dozens of KPIs that go into each of these that you could create out and say, oh, well, if that's not working, then maybe let's check on this. There's tons of ways that you can tweak and change these. However, these are some of the core ones for you guys sitting at home that if you've never tracked anything in your business, if you've never really, you've kind of just become successful by default. This is a way that you can start looking at the right numbers in your business so that you can kind of turn up the heat. And whether your goal is launching a new location, whether your goal is replacing yourself at your business so that you can just have it be an asset, whatever it is, these metrics, if they're all performing well for you, that's how you can kind of like crank up the heat in your business. So I know we're hitting time here. So Terri, I'm so grateful for you. And for anybody here, if you want to beef up your KPIs in your business, you want to have a more profitable business, you need to work with Terri. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Terri?
Thanks, Jared. Well, and thank you for like distilling it down, because I think it is easy for people to be overwhelmed, or it's easy for people to sit here and say, I'm just not sure. And I think you're saying it, and I'm saying it, that you have to be sure. Like if this is an area that you feel weak or unsettled and uncertain, yeah, I do invite you for a call with us. You can visit Terri Ross Consulting. There's a discovery form on the website. You can visit my Instagram page. Certainly, I put out a lot of great stuff on my podcast as well. But this is where we can take a deep dive, do a business evaluation in your practice, and then really give you the blueprint of where those opportunities are. Because it's one thing to know these KPIs, Jared, and I'm so thankful we went through them.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, well, shit. Then I have them. Now
How do I fix
what
it?
do I do? Like, am I up or am I
Yeah.
down? Why? Let's figure out the why and then the how. And then that
100%.
take some action.
Yeah, these are all just a health check, these KPIs. This is for you to know where you're unhealthy, and then you need a Terri Ross, you need a Jared Rohr, you need somebody to then come in as the practitioner for you and say,
Yeah.
okay, great. Here's how we're going to beef up your lead production. Here's how we're going to beef up your conversion rate. Here's how we're going to beef up that retention rate, whatever it is.
Yes.
Then once you can identify the problem, then it becomes really easy to pick who to work with. Because then you can talk to Terri and say, oh my gosh, my sales conversion rate's at 40%. Terri, can you help me get it up? And you're like, oh my gosh, I've helped hundreds of businesses get their sales conversion rate up. Of course I can. Or whatever. But then you have the right metrics that you're judging your consultants and your vendors by, because that's usually from marketing side. People are like, oh, this marketing company sucked. I'm like, why? They're like, I don't know. They just didn't do a good job. It's like, what were the KPIs you held them to? Like, I don't know. It's like, well, I think, and that's why I try to educate my clients as much as I can so that they judge me by the right metrics when we go into business.
Love that. But you know, that's what, when you were working with Shino and like all of your past, when I saw you, oh my God, doing Sheila's thing back in the, you know, but it's really refreshing to even see a business owner caring about that too, because it just shows the integrity of your business and who you like to work with and how you like to be measured. Or none of us are successful.
Yeah, and I just want them to win. I want everyone listening. I want everyone that I get to engage with. I want you guys to win.
Yeah.
You know?
Same.
So yeah. Well, thank you everybody for listening to The Patient Magnet. Again, my name is Jared Rohr, CEO of Aesthetic Conversion. I've been joined today by my good buddy, Terri Ross, and really looking forward to the 4S Summit this weekend. That's kind of a little teaser of when we're filming this. Likely this will not go out before 4S. But you guys do that a couple of times a year. So guys,
3 more next year. So you're not
come to the next one, everybody.
I don't want to miss it. But Jared, honey, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you.
It was a super solid message before the end of the year. And I can't wait to continue to kick ass with you. Thanks,
Let's
guys,
kick ass. Thanks, everybody.